one massive issue that I've found with the willpower, determination, motivation, gotta do it attitude is that you can apply all the willpower you want to changing anything, and if you're doing it wrong, the results aren't going to show up. You can discipline yourself, you can motivate yourself, you can actually be doing the work. Like, you can be working really hard to the point where you're burning yourself out and you're still not getting the results that you want, because willpower alone doesn't cut it. So this is just my video diary, right? I express what I'm thinking and feeling in the present moment. This just happens to be it. It's never intended to be advice or guidance, although it may seem that way because I'm kind of like talking to myself in these diaries. And this is what I'm highlighting right now. I've realized a bunch of times throughout my life where I've been determined to achieve results in an area, and I've put all this effort into creating the outcome, only to discover 3 months down the track or 3 years down the track that my approach was the problem. And the most recent thing has been my health and fitness. I've been training in the gym with more discipline than anybody else in there. Like, I am determined to reach my goals. And what I've neglected is nutrition and rest. So there's this really unbalanced thing that's taken place where I'm not getting the results, so I could work even harder, put more time in, discipline myself more, like use up more of that precious willpower and direct it all towards this goal, when like what I really needed to do was take a step back, which would have given me the rest that I needed anyway, and do some research about like what I need to be fueling my body with. And I learned, like, just to make this more concrete and less like abstract, to give you a concrete example, I stumbled upon some research I was just Googling stuff because I was getting frustrated. And like, you can only absorb so much protein at a time, like your digestion and the way that your body works and everything. So you can't just like load your body up with protein all in one hit and expect the results to take place. Like, I don't want to like get into specifics so much that it only applies to people that want to work out, but there's so many other areas in my life that I've done this, like finances, trying to generate abundance for myself. Like, early I just thought like work really hard, like same thing actually as go to the gym and just like do lots of gym, lift lots of weights and like just put in the time. I was doing the same thing with money, like just work as many shifts as you can, do all the overtime that you can, like start a side hustle, like just generate as much income as you can, only to discover later that most people who become really successful economically with their money, like become rich, the mantra is don't trade your time for money. So like, I was doing the main thing that was going to stop me from becoming successful economically. So the main thing that was stopping me from becoming rich. And essentially that's what I was doing in the gym. Like, I was just like working really hard thinking that's the solution to everything, when actually rest and nutrition were more important. So if you put that same lens over money, investing and managing your spending is just as important. Like, you could say like managing your spending is like the same as rest in the gym. Like, manage the amount of energy that I'm spending, and the investing is like nutrition. Like, I need to invest in like better nutrition for my body so that I can build the muscle tissue or the muscle fibers when I do actually work out in the gym. Like, I can tear all those muscle fibers as many times as I want, but if my body doesn't have the building blocks inside of it to build back stronger muscle, I'm just like doing that damage over and over again. I'm probably actually reversing my growth at a certain point. Once I got to a certain point and I stopped seeing the returns, like where I'm just like doing the same exercises and I'm not actually getting any stronger, that was probably because I was lacking nutrition and rest. So the reason I'm sharing this is because I'm sure there are other people out there who can relate. You've been working really hard on something and you're not getting the results you want. Probably what you need to do is take a step back, go back to the drawing board and rethink things. And you think like, oh yeah, there's nothing new to learn, there's nothing new to understand. I'm just like, I'm not motivated enough, or I'm not doing enough and I just need to do more. That is almost never the case in my experience, and it's taken me a long time to really see that in all these different areas of my life and go, wait a minute, like it really isn't about doing more, it's about doing things well. And if there was one thing that I was going to say do more of, it would be do more learning. Like read more books, watch more documentaries, like subscribe to more YouTube channels that are teaching you the specific things that you want to learn. One place where I got a lot of new information was a channel called Chris Harrier, and he does the calisthenics and bodyweight exercises, because I really like to be able to work out anywhere, because I actually started my fitness stuff while I was driving around Australia in a ute, and I had to just use my body weight and be able to exercise literally anywhere, in the middle of the desert, in the middle of a tropical rainforest, like wherever I was, I needed to be able to do something. And that's been awesome. But before that, I actually didn't have any knowledge, and I was just going off like the basic things that is in everybody's awareness, like do lots of push-ups, or do lots of sit-ups. Like there's that general knowledge, but it's nowhere near enough. Like you actually have to get into the specifics, into the nitty-gritty, and learn about whatever it is that you want to do. Like you need to learn from other people, whether you learn from books or directly get some one-on-one coaching, or like whatever it is. Learn how it actually works so that you don't waste like so much time doing it wrong. Because I think that's one of the big reasons why people don't achieve, because they do it wrong for 6 months, they don't get any results, and then they give up because they think that they're not, that they can't do it. They think they can't do it, but they can do it, they just did it wrong. So if you actually start a new endeavor, if you have a new goal, the first thing you need to do is go and find out how to do it. Like you're gonna do it your own way. It's gonna be your own unique journey, but somebody has knowledge that is going to speed that process up for you. And I suppose I could say, like, I've still been making progress the entire time with the fitness and with finances, and I've been learning these little lessons along the way, but I could have been more deliberate in my pursuit of the knowledge that would help me accelerate the process. It was knowledge that was lacking in every instance. That's, if you took one thing away from this video, if you're trying to improve your life, like what I've noticed, that it's knowledge that was lacking in every instance. Everything that I was not getting the results that I wanted, it was knowledge that was lacking. And as soon as I got some more knowledge, it dramatically accelerates the results. Like all of a sudden, I'm working just as hard and I'm getting 5 times the results in the gym, 10 times the results in the gym. With finances, the first time I made a budget tracker and I actually tracked all my finances, I immediately saved $500 a month just by realizing that a bunch of money was disappearing into shit that I didn't even, like, it's not that I didn't need it, I wasn't even aware that I was still subscribed, or like I was still doing that, like I was still using that. Like I just wasn't aware, because I had this aversion to money. Like the crazy thing about me is I was like an anti-capitalist. Like I was like anarchist, like wanted to dismantle the whole system. Still got a lot of that in me. Like it's not like I just like can shed that old shell and completely. Like I can't unlearn what I learned when I was exploring anarchy and when I was exploring like anti-capitalist agendas and things. Like, but it actually made me better at capitalism to look at those other areas and get that knowledge from those other areas. Because one, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm not attached to the system. I don't want to perpetuate any of these cycles. I don't want to get ultra rich and hang on to all the money and play this big game of Monopoly. So that gives me this like feeling of freedom. Like I just really don't care. Not in a way like I don't care, like I really, really do care, but I care about different things. My values are just different to what like you see in when you become like an anarchist anti-capitalist and you're seeing like all this ultra wealth control everything. Like I don't want to do that. The only reason I want to be wealthy is so that I can be free to contribute in a way that is meaningful to me, so that I can make impact and I can help people like get out of poverty, and so that they can actually control the level of resistance in their life, because I think it's much more empowering when you choose to challenge yourself than when you're just surviving, and that's why everything's a challenge. Like, and that's from experience, because as soon as I got out of like total poverty survival mode and I was able to choose when I wanted to add more heaviness to life and I wanted to challenge myself, like it was so much easier, because if I had a hard week or something, I could put the weight down and I could relax. Whereas when you're in survival mode, you can never ever do that. So that's a little bit of a segue over here. But the main point that I wanted to talk about in this particular diary was like, yeah, knowledge is the thing that's lacking. And I guess it does sort of link to what I just said, because a lot of people are lacking the knowledge to make their lives better. And then they look at the world, and I did this. This is why I got into that headspace of being like anarchist, like anti-capitalist, because I was like, fuck that game. It's impossible for me. Like I've got like there's all these people that have all these advantages. They're off to a head start. Like I don't want to play, and I wanted to kind of avoid the game altogether. But I don't know. You might disagree with me. I might disagree with myself in the future when I watch this back. But I feel like we're kind of born into the capitalism game, and whether you like it or not, you're participating. Like, just because you don't try to become a successful capitalist doesn't mean that you're not a capitalist. In a lot of ways, like, of course, you could say, nah, just totally unsubscribing. But if you take that to the extreme, what does that actually look like, you know? Like, how much can you really disconnect from this thing? And I've experimented with that heaps. Like, as you've even seen, it is documented that I like tried to fully unplug, and I thought of all these different ways to do it. But totally honest with you, like, without going back to like fully integrated holistic practices, living totally in alignment with nature, where nature's providing everything that you need, it's so much more complicated to get out of the game of capitalism than it is to just play it enough to buy yourself freedom everywhere else. That's kind of where I'm at with it. And I don't really talk about this that much. And it's still like, this is a very like fluid part of my life. Like I said, like I can't just shed that shell of who I used to be. So it's like kind of new for me to be stepping into investing even, or like I'm looking at buying an apartment. Like that's so alien to me, and I never thought I'd be the person to be considering any of that, because I just wanted to exit the game completely. So it's interesting. But even in that, like the great thing is I've learned this lesson that the reason why I usually don't get the results that I want is because I don't have the knowledge that I need. So when I do buy an apartment, I'm going to go and employ somebody. I'm going to hire somebody to make sure that I have all of the knowledge that I need, so that is a successful endeavor. Like I'm not going to just try to do it myself, fuck it all up, make all the mistakes, learn my lesson, and like spend 5-10 years of accumulating all this unnecessary extra debt. Like I'm going to do it right the first time, because I've learned this lesson that knowledge is what's lacking. I still might make mistakes. Like it's not like you can ever know exactly what to do. Like I don't want to put that message out there either. Like, I told you this isn't advice or guidance, but yeah, like you can also fall into the trap. So this just isn't me. Like I'm not this guy. I'm the guy that I will wing it to the end. Like, I believe in myself. I will try and fail. Like, I don't care. Like, that's what put me in this position. There are other people at the other end of this spectrum of like impulsivity and spontaneous way of being, that they feel like they have to learn absolutely every single detail about everything involved before they try anything new. Like, I don't want people to fall into that kind of paralysis because they heard me saying that like knowledge is what's lacking. Knowledge is what was lacking for me, and I've learned that lesson. For you, you might need to be more spontaneous. You might need to be a little bit more like Kai lives and just go, you know, I don't need all the knowledge in the world to get started. I just need to start. Because one of my other friends, he kind of was on the other end of the spectrum, his name's Martin. You've probably seen us together before if you've been following the journey long enough, but I'm not going to give you his last name because it's like a little Easter egg hunt, you know? You can go find out who I'm talking about. But he calls it paralysis by analysis because he has the opposite problem. He'll think something to death. Like, he'll have an idea and he'll just have to know everything about it before he starts. Whereas like I have, before I've even completely formulated the idea, I'm already taking steps in that direction. And my friends as well. Like, it's been an issue with my relationships, mainly with my mates, because they've just like, we're sitting around the campfire, you know, it's like 9 o'clock at night and we're just talking shit. And then somebody might come up with a, you know, funny little idea just as a joke. But before the next morning, I've already called a bunch of people, sent a bunch of messages, emailed like a production company, and I'm like, we're doing this next Wednesday. And they're like, fucking hell, Kai, like, we don't know how to do that. We're not ready. It's going to cost us money. Like, it's going to cost us time. Can you just relax, like, and not be like this? Like, I've come a long way. I know now, like, that level of impulsivity and stuff, and especially involving everybody else into it. Like, oh yeah, like, we're just going to go do this crazy thing. Like, when I was younger, it was so intense. Like, everybody knew, like, it was like you had to watch out what you said around me, because I would create a festival out of thin air, book a 52-seat luxury tour bus, fill it with rock and roll bands and take it across the country. Like, that happened. That was a real thing that happened. And that was like one of many. Like, it was just this constant thing of like winging it, figure it out as I go. And on the one hand, I've got all these amazing, incredible memories and experiences, you know, that nobody else will ever have, because most people are more responsible and they would never do that. They would never take those kinds of risks. Whereas in my world, I never even thought about it as a risk. I just thought about it as like, this is what I want to do today. Like, it seems insane to a lot of people, and I get that now, but it's still, for me, it doesn't seem insane, and I have to like actually contemplate and sort of put myself in your shoes and go, oh yes, I can see how you might think that's crazy, but that, you know, that's your reality. I'm fine. Like, at the time, like, yeah, sure, the consequences were huge and I was totally overwhelmed and it was full on, but I'm still fine. Oh man, there's beauty in it. There's beauty in however you be. If you are an overthinker who has to prepare for everything, you probably would have been a valuable person on my team back then. I had people like that. But I was probably the valuable person that would actually get us started to make something happen. And it was just, you know, being young, learning what your strengths are, learning what your weaknesses are, and like sort of forming your identity and who you're going to be and how you're going to navigate this world. I think my way was faster. I think I learned a lot more. But now that I'm going to combine my ability to absolutely wing it with also bringing in professional assistance, like asking for help and asking for support to approach things the best way possible, like that's going to be powerful as a whole, complete approach to life, I feel. So I'm pretty excited about that. Oh man. If you get anything out of these videos, please pass them on to anybody else you know who may benefit. If you ever watch one of these videos and you think, my friend is exactly like that, or my friend is exactly the opposite of that, and this might help balance them out, you know? Like, you have those feelings, just send it as a DM, you know? Just slide it on into their direct messages. Or click the like button for me, leave your comments down below. I always love to hear what other people are thinking and feeling. I know it's a little bit vulnerable to share what's going on inside of you with strangers on the internet, but look, I'm here and sharing absolutely everything, so you'll be okay. And it can be your first step to, like, you know, getting some stuff out there more and starting to, you know, I find that expressing something makes it more real. Like, it's like one of the first forms of actually creating, when you express something. And I'll see you again when I'm looking at you.